And now, it's time for the RPM Podcast, starring Eric Brennan.
He spanked him. Drainage issues and bumps, something that you'd see on like TMZ looking at a Kardashian. Nobody found the edge. Why are you waving that thing at me? Because there are so many buttons and knobs and switches and levers and all sorts of things that you can push and press and pull. Doesn't make sense.
There goes half the listeners.
Eric Graham.
I'm here, bitches. It was the Baku of NASCAR races. It's like watching cars going down the parkway. I want to see donuts on the cars. You get your skirt dirty, it's a bad thing. I would take a slide job. There's more contact in Formula 1 than there is in NASCAR. NASCAR is supposed to touch. It's the point of the damn series. I'm not happy till there's bump and runs. They're both turds. We're getting to the point where there's more people listening to our show than sits in the stands at a NASCAR race. Sometimes just see bump and splats. You're such a dingling.
Sam Ballard Jr.
Three pumps. It's like a video game.
Yeah.
A crappy EA Sports.
It's like
video game. He's my cousin. Leave him alone. I like dirty skirts. I know you're listening to the show. Like us on Twitter.
And Josh Matthews.
I got nothing.
This
My
is
neighbor's
porch down.
borrowing a tool.
That's also because of the bumps. That was creepy.
Well,
When did I say dingling on you?
I don't remember saying half that stuff. I don't know. I guess it's like a heat of the moment thing. I don't know.
Heat of the moment.
You never know what we're going to say. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the RPM Podcast. Unfortunately, for those of you watching on YouTube, you could obviously see we're down a man tonight. Our buddy Sam is actually...
Has been replaced by the washing machine.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. He's braving...
Now we have Samsung.
Touche.
Good one. High five.
There we
Yeah.
go. I could
I forgot to have
Word
Lisa
it,
print
word.
out a picture of him.
And we're dorks.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch that?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what you're talking
You got
about.
a picture of me, and you started making fun of me, and I let it slide.
Yeah. Well, I think I owe you about 10 of those,
That's what I figured.
considering.
You'll get yours.
Sam is braving the Manhattan weather and traffic, and he and his family took a trip to the 9/11 memorial. So,
He's trying to crowd up New York a little bit just to get even for
Yeah.
the traffic that we suffer.
well,
Being a reverse Benny.
Yep. I
hate
got
you
to be
guys.
a reverse Benny. That was fun. The traffic sucked up there, too.
We
So
went to Long Island. That's a whole other.
Yeah.
Not to insult any of our Long Island listeners.
We're doing good so
Long
far.
Island's great.
Well, one of the things that I did notice in that introduction was a comment that you made, Eric, where you said that we might have more listeners than what go to a NASCAR race.
I think pretty much everything I said in that intro, I'm going to repeat on this show. Formula One had more contact than NASCAR. More people listen to our show than was at the NASCAR race. Not a compliment to our show.
Well, it's a problem when we talk about Indianapolis and the Brickyard 400. I'm not sure if you guys had a chance to watch the race. I did, and
And you thought it was an 8.
no.
All right. This is. I said I wanted to challenge you to something. I dare you to say that race was a 5 or better.
It was a 3.
Wow.
I honestly
That's
think
how
was a
bad
3.
it was at Eric. That was bad.
It
Like
wa-
I thought it was gonna be bad. That was bad.
You know,
That was like root canal bad.
the one thing I can relate that race to, and you know what?
Paint drying.
No, and I'm not even.
Amish barn raisings.
What does that even mean?
Have
but,
you ever watched one?
Yeah, it's
No,
Kinda
it sounds
tedious.
Like, what is it?
It's
you
putting-
don't know what Amish people are?
I know what Amish people are. I just don't know.
They
what
raise barns with ropes and. Do we
Oh,
really have to
really?
get into?
They build a barn
I
in
didn't-
like
I
a
didn't-
day.
It probably
didn't know
is
that.
more interesting.
It's like a day or two, and they put up a barn.
They are better
It's-
carpenters than like anyone else.
And it's all hand tools. It's actually
Anyway.
kind of amazing, but at the same
How's
time,
everybody an expert
Okay,
on the Amish?
okay.
except me?
See, the Amish are definitely cooler than that race.
yeah.
The one thing that I will, because I happen to be listening to the Michael Kay show on ESPN Radio this week, and the talk is the Rio Olympics in Brazil, and just how corrupt and how bad and how terrible an organization the Olympic Committee is. But the problem is NBC Sports does such a good job promoting it that it makes it look incredible. And I linked that to the coverage of the NASCAR race this weekend, where all the pre-race headlines and all the prestige and all the beauty that makes up Indianapolis Motor Speedway was attempted to be pushed on this race, the Brickyard 400. And I'll tell you, for me, it just didn't work.
Well, you don't. The people that produce these broadcasts, it's their job to polish turds, and they've gotten very good over the last 10 years.
Think about it. You from that intro, you'd think our show might actually be kind of funny.
Yeah, I don't know about
This
that.
show's freaking hilarious.
But that's the thing with the 400, and there's a couple of things that bother me, and one of them is, and I thought it was the first time that I actually realized that they released the balloons for the Brickyard 400. Now I thought that was the first time they did it. I went back and looked at it, and it turns out they've been doing it.
They
for
had
a
more
while.
balloons than people there this year, and that's not even
It's
not even a
close.
joke. Not even a joke.
It's close, but
They killed 2 birds for every spectator that was there.
no, I have no problem with the releasing of the balloons for the Indianapolis 500, but you should do it for the Brickyard 400. It's different. It's totally different. It doesn't make any sense. And then I'll credit Matt Weaver, who wrote an article for Race.com that you sent me. They had the Xfinity drivers kiss the bricks after they win the Xfinity race. Well, what the hell is the prestige of winning the Brickyard 400 if you do the same exact thing when you win the lower division race that you do on Sunday?
Oh, God. We didn't even queue up the bit for you to rant yet.
I didn't even know there was one.
It's like letting the Indy Lights drivers drink milk after they win.
Exactly. And it doesn't make any sense at all. Look,
I was totally making fun
I
of them.
know.
no, I'm being
Yeah, I
serious.
know.
I'm being serious. Because, let's face it, the Brickyard 400 right now is a pig. And trying to do all this pre-race pizzazz with it, like the releasing of the balloons, is doing nothing but putting lipstick on the pig. Okay? It's like when you date a rich girl. Okay? Yeah, if you want to fake it a little bit and buy her a nice rich glass of wine, that's fine. But don't rent a car to go take her out. It doesn't make any sense. You're not being authentic. This race is not being authentic.
Let him go. Let him go.
No. All right. Do you agree with anything that I'm saying?
I don't know what that meant.
In other words,
You're
I
saying
get the pig
you're
race.
saying they're making a big deal out of something that is not a big deal.
I can agree with that, but the rich girl thing was kind
But
of.
you're
Maybe
going-
I've just never
You're
dated.
going
was just a
real
euphemism.
far.
no, because here's the thing. I think the Cup
Why do you
Series.
keep waving your hand over my crotch?
It's not meant to be over your crotch.
Like,
it's
they can
just,
all see
we're
this.
only a couple.
It's like abracadabra.
Trying to help you.
He's
I don't
searching
need
for
that
his-
kind of help.
He's searching for his magic wand.
It's like
Going to Hogwarts.
I truly believe that the Cup Series has a place at Indy, even if the racing is not that good. I think that the fact that the track has so much history and it's sacred ground that the premier stock car division in the world should be there. I don't think the Xfinity Series should be there. And I don't think that you need to implement the same pre-race rituals that make the Indy 500 so beautiful into the stock car portion of the program.
Were there more people at Eldora than the
I
Brickyard?
think so.
I don't know.
Because they
How,
get about 50,000 people at Eldora now.
it had to be. Is it really 50,000? They can see it at
That's-
Eldora?
Well, the one article,
They're
look
not
that
all
up.
seats, but they bring in a ton of temporary seating, and there's people already
the
in
grass seats, and anyway, Graham, you sent us an article about what was it? How bad the stands were, and they were saying how bad NASCAR's product is at this track, and overall how bad that whole weekend was. That it
There's
may
a
not
lot of
have.
fans. I sent another article earlier in the week of the fan experience,
Well,
and people are just really complaining about how they're being treated. I think basically what the article was about is they added all these new restrictions and stuff for fans, and they never told anyone. There was no communication. So, like, people used to be able to come in at 6 o'clock and park, 6 in the morning,
Right.
and then they were being told to wait until 9 to come park. But no communication was made. But it seems like and they're very low on staffing because they knew there weren't going to be a lot of people there.
right.
It just seems like they're in desperation mode to get people there, but they're not.
They're not
Going
handling
the
the
right
people
way?
well when they get there.
Right, so they're losing more and more customers.
Well, I was going to say that they, in that article, said that it may not have topped 50,000 people, but
They
prior,
did have high television, well, not high-ish television ratings compared to the last few years.
yeah, but the race was. I mean, that article even said that there were what 4
It's
lead
bad.
changes.
It's bad that a lot of people chose to watch that race because, like Eric said, they made so much TV hype. Like this was a big, you must see event, and it's kind of like the wrong impression. Like there's probably quite a few people that watch this race that don't normally watch NASCAR, and it's gonna take a while before they ever watch a race again.
And that's the thing. Again, I agree with the Cup Series. I see people all the time say that NASCAR has no business being there, and I disagree with them because you know what? Let's face it. This was a big
The
deal.
Sprint Cup has business being there.
Right. When they first started, it was a big race. It was a marquee event on the calendar. In fact, I've seen some people, including Matt Weaver, refer to it as a Grand Slam event where you have the 500, the 600,
I
the
don't know if
Brickyard
it'll
400,
ever be a
and the Southern
great
500.
race. Though. I don't know if that track is.
What was the
conductive to
best
stock
race
car
there
racing?
in the past?
When Ernie Irvin had a flat tire.
No, I mean, there were some decent races there. I mean, Paul Menard's win in 2011 was fuel mileage based, but I think if you
There
go
was
back,
never really like the moments you could
Was-
think of
was
there
there
are
action?
pit strategy or
and I keep
Or like a
referencing
fluke kind
I
of.
keep referencing this article, but I agree with it so much. The bit that you sent me from Matt Weaver, Eric, where he said, you know what, it may not be the race that you want to watch to get a thrill, but if you're a purist of a race fan, it may be the race that you could watch where you could see who really is running at their peak performance right now. Because the straightaways are so long that power is a huge role, and the corners are so flat and so abrupt that it puts handling into play. And usually, judging by how many guys who have won that race and gone on to win the championship, it's a good example of who's at the top of their game at this point in the season. So I agree with that aspect of it.
I won't argue that.
it's only a
entirely.
race that diehards should watch though. Like it's definitely not the race. If I was trying to get somebody into racing, I would make them avoid that race.
Yeah. You'd want like
And
a
that's almost
Martinsville
every
or-
year. Even like when it was first started, it wasn't that exciting when it first started. It was exciting that they were there. It wasn't an exciting race.
Right. And I think that even could continue if it kept on going.
I don't
But,
know if
man,
you're ever.
I don't
I don't
know.
know if you're ever going to see stock cars have a very exciting race there.
Well, I think the IROC series just put on a good show.
I think like Indy cars would suck at Daytona. I think it would suck.
Even on the road course?
No, not on the road course, but I mean on the oval
I don't think they would work.
because Daytona's correct, and I don't think that's my point. I don't think
They,
stock
they
cars
would be
work.
so
I don't
fast.
think stock cars work on the square that is IMS.
Rectangle. Close. You were close. I'm just saying it's a rectangle. It's not a square.
You're being a mother. Shut your mouth.
I mean, anybody who knows.
Okay, it's a rectangle.
Okay. Now there was
Gonna
one bit
Beat you into a rhombus.
of interesting news that kind of overshadowed the weekend. And oh, wait, before I get into that, back to my thing about the Xfinity Series guys kissing the bricks. I got one more pet peeve about this. It reminds me of the races at Martinsville, right? If you get a grandfather clock for winning the Cup race, and you get a grandfather clock for winning the truck race, and you get a grandfather clock for winning the big late model race there, what's the difference if you're giving the same trophy to different divisions? Like, does it make sense?
You know, you could
Smaller
pay
grandfather
like
clocks.
$20 and go on the Speedway tour and kiss the bricks.
So yeah, I understand that, but it's not the same, and it shouldn't be the same. You know, it's like standing in Victory Lane drinking a glass of milk. Like it should be exclusive to people who earn that. I don't think the Xfinity guys.
But the
even though
grandfather
that would be
clock
Kyle
thing
Busch.
is cool.
So no, and you know what?
And
I'll tell you
I
what.
disagree with you saying that
I would
no
give
one else
it
should get it.
to the Cup guys. I
No,
would give it to the late
now,
model guys.
now you're
I would
just
take it away
being
from the
an
truck guys.
elitist.
No, listen. Okay, so you're telling me that if a team wins the Little League World Series, they're entitled to a World Series championship ring?
Oh, yes, a Little League World Series championship ring.
No,
yes.
but that's not what I'm saying. These guys, listen. You want to give a grandfather clock to the Cup guys? and
Okay,
you want to give
the
a
Little
desk
League.
clock
I
to
work
the,
for I work for the Little League of Auto Racing. They get rings, championship rings, at the end of the year.
but they don't get a Borg Warner trophy. I mean, there's a difference. There should be some subtleties between the
And
three.
the grandfather clocks are a little different for each series.
They're close to the same.
They're made by the same people,
No,
but
listen. You give the Cup winner a grandfather clock. You give the Truck Series winner a desk
and the late
clock.
model guy gets a pocket watch.
Exactly, and that's it. You covered all your bases, and he's got something to shoot for to try to win there again in another series.
Bring your own monocle.
That's just a
Yeah.
pet peeve of mine. Sorry. Anyway, the other bit of news that came out, like kind of surprisingly, usually another Indianapolis tradition is the chairman of the board delivers a command to start your engines, which has been Mary Holman George. You know, one of the eldest members of the Holman George family. However, Tony George
She's one of the oldest members of the human race.
that is true, was the one who gave
Her
the
and
command
Bernie
to start
Ecclestone.
engines.
So is this a problem?
When you think of the rise and fall of Tony George, not just in American open wheel racing, but in racing in general, I find it rather bizarre that he's now the head or the chairman of the board after he was almost ousted a handful of years ago. I'm not sure if any of you remember that.
Yeah. Well, here we don't like you. You have to go suffer through this NASCAR race.
Well, I guess that is a brutal way to ring it on in, and it's fitting that Mary Holman's last stint was the 100th running in the Indy 500, where they had the whole all surviving members of the family were there to give the command to start engines. Which is the most proper send off imaginable. And I don't know the Holman George family that well or that
At
deep
all?
or the family tree. Exactly.
I've only been to dinner with him once.
No, I'm saying in terms not just know like personally, but more like I really don't know who's who. It's just amazing if you go back and you research the storylines behind Tony George and his involvement with IMS and the Indianapolis Motor
helping,
Speedway. That is
helping destroy IndyCar.
that too. He went from that to being forced out of
Pretty much whenever he's done and gone, that will be his legacy.
right. So
Is that IndyCar was the #1 racing series in the country, and because of him, it is no longer. And most race fans don't even know what it is anymore.
So basically, what we're trying to say is, please pray for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, because if history repeats itself, it might be in trouble right now, especially with Tony George at the helm.
I don't think so.
Because F1 worked out so well there.
Well,
Again, you're trying to put a square peg in a round hole, just like NASCAR. Like it doesn't. F1 does not fit on that track. F1 cars can't handle being on an oval like that.
well,
They're not made for it.
and again, nothing personal against Tony George as a person, but just judging by the track record, which we do to analyze races anyway throughout the week, it doesn't look that good. But maybe this is his chance to turn around his resume. We'll see. Now, the one driver who did walk away with 2 trophies and got to kiss the bricks twice, even though his son didn't want to on both days, was Kyle Busch. I don't know if you guys saw that video, but as they all kneeled down to kiss the bricks, Brexton took off for turn number 1, and it was actually kind of amusing.
Sounds like my nephew.
And
Go ahead.
no, go.
Can we all agree now that Kyle Busch is the best driver of this generation?
Here's the thing. Based on what?
Have you watched him?
Have you watched him race? I mean, he wins on just about every track.
No, I agree.
He's a champion.
All right.
That's usually the first criteria people have.
No,
He
it
won,
doesn't.
and he won a championship in the matter that he won it last year.
That's a good
Are you
point.
gonna
However,
but some people will make an asterisk out of that. But I think he might win it again this year.
all right, fine.
He'll say "F you."
But now, you could have an incredible driver and not top-notch equipment. So, just to say somebody's a champion, I mean, it means something, but he's also probably in some pretty good equipment, or they get the setup right.
Yeah, but every driver that's ever been really successful in racing history has been in good equipment
yes,
on that level.
but
So that's not invaluable.
I'm talking about there are times,
And
that
it used to be in NASCAR there were 3 or 4 very good cars, and then everybody else. There's
All right.
more parity now than there's ever been.
The one thing I've been trying to say, despite
Josh getting frustrated.
he keeps stepping on me. I'm not Sam. You step on him all the time. Go ahead. You're related. Anyway,
Knock knock,
Yeah, what are you doing?
knock knock.
anyway,
Okay, who's there?
Interrupting Cal.
What?
no, just stop
Interrupting
right
Cal.
there. Move.
God. Wow, this
That was terrible.
we're at an all-time
Go
low.
ahead, Josh.
Are you sure?
Yeah, we're good.
All right. So
Humiliated.
I've seen him get that car little side, loose, out of shape, real bad out of shape, and he somehow recovers it. I mean, I've seen this many times. Or there's been a wreck in front of him, and he avoids it. There's no way he's going to be able to avoid spinning at this point, and somehow he regains control and keeps going. I mean, he is a very good driver. You don't have to like him as a person. You can hate him all you want, just like people hated Jeff Gordon for many, many years. You don't have to like him.
Who's the best driver of this generation?
That's
I
where
think it's Kyle Busch. Although
here's where I struggle with that. Now, I've been a fan of Kyle since he came into Cup in 2004, and that included him having some issues and actually not even qualifying with some Cup races because he destroyed cars in practice for Hendrick Motorsports. He went through that learning curve. He found his edge and then reeled it back in, which is what you want in your driver. However, when you look at Kyle's career in the grand scheme of things, personality and attitude and everything aside, I agree with everything you just said, Josh. He is one of the best drivers when it comes to car control, without a doubt. In fact, there was a time where I would have put him and Greg Biffle on the same level because Biffle was one of the only other guys that I could see catch a car like that.
Jimmy Johnson. He's very
And
underrated for his
and then
ability to catch a
Johnson.
car.
But now, when you say of our generation, if I put Kyle Busch alongside of Jimmy Johnson, and I look at Johnson, who's able to win championships with the old-style car, the transitioning car tomorrow, the new car tomorrow, and even the edition of car they're running now, I don't know how you could say Kyle Busch is better.
If you're looking at generations in like 25-year gaps, and I'll agree with you, I think in racing, maybe like driver of the decade, because I think Jimmy Johnson's fallen off a little.
I think Hendrick Motorsports is falling off.
Well,
a
Tony
little bit.
Stewart was very much a hot item for a while, and he's, you know,
You want to talk about how my theory on why Hendrick Motorsports fell off?
Yes.
They lost their technical partnership with Stuart Haas Racing, and they haven't been the same since.
You know, that is something that I never really considered.
You're welcome.
And considering how incredibly strong that Stuart Haas has been over the last couple of seasons and how strong they are now, and then they just announced a couple of days ago they're going to start up an Xfinity Series team to try to keep up and groom additional talent, especially with their switch to Ford, I could see there being a correlation. However, Hendrick was a powerhouse before Stuart Haas even came along. So I'm a little confused as to Hendrick's struggles as of late.
But that story came out, was it in the offseason?
The switch to Ford was very early in the year.
That Hendrick was part of the switch was Hendrick stopped sharing information with Stuart Haas, and that hurt both teams.
Right. Because it seems like that the engineering
Stuart Haas was
power-
outperforming, which makes you wonder if say Truex keeps going at the rate he's going, if they'll start losing support from Gibbs. I don't know. Gibbs isn't really like that, though.
That whole situation is a little bit weird.
They've really considered them like an adopted team.
Yeah.
Like it's completely different than the.
Well, and not to get too far off our original discussion of Kyle Busch and where he ranks as being the best driver of our generation.
Maybe if we go driver of the decade, I think when it's 2021 and we go back and look at this last 10 years, we'll say Kyle Busch was that guy.
Absolutely. And it's a good chance for us to talk about his success in the Xfinity Series. I'm not sure if I could use those wins. For example, when Mark Martin was winning a bunch in the then Busch Series back in the day, I didn't really use that to define him as a driver, in my opinion. I just figured he was doing what he's supposed to be doing.
He was the all-time Xfinity winner until
for quite
Busch
some
came
time. And in fact, he even took the reins back from Kyle Busch at one point, I think in 2012. And then Busch, of course, took it and ran ever since then because Martin walked away. I think it's a lasting legacy that Kyle could leave. At the end of the day, I think I perhaps wouldn't want to see that many, Xfinity races run by a guy like Kyle. And I don't want to be one of those.
That's a different argument that, that those guys shouldn't be involved in that. And
but it's going to be part of his legacy either way.
Part of his legacy is, like, Kyle Busch isn't going away anytime soon. Even when he stops driving, he's still going to be I think he'll be involved in the sport for
I don't
his
think
life.
he will stop driving. I think
At some point.
he will be like a Buzzy Ruderman or a Dick Trickle or a Ken Schrader or you name it, who just keeps going. Maybe not at the premier level.
I don't know if he can handle losing.
But now here's my one thing to all the people who hate Kyle Busch. Isn't that exactly what you want in your race car driver? Don't you want somebody
People
who
hated
can't
Dale Earnhardt,
stand
too.
finishing second? And that's my point. And people
People
so
hated Tony
upset.
Stewart until he started doing so. So there are a lot of people that hated Jeff Gordon until he stopped winning all the time.
And how mad do
It's the
people
way
get
of life.
when you
On our level, people hate Jimmy Blewett.
So exactly.
And he's probably, I'm going to offend a lot of people, he's probably one of the more talented drivers that we have at Wall.
He's one of the
I
more
can say that without offending people,
Well, I can say this without being too biased, but I think he's one of the more talented modified drivers there is. And that's why he's in the position he's in, and he's able to drive such a historic modified on the tour.
Eric, did you take those that pair of glasses that was offered to you the other week at the track?
That's a funny video.
Oh, I just realized what you guys were talking about.
I couldn't be an official if I didn't find stuff like that really funny.
Yeah, for those of you at home who, especially listening, maybe not in Jersey, there's a video posted up on Facebook of it was after a call.
Some race fan waving his glasses at me at the tower.
Yeah, and you can't see Graham at all in the thing, but you can see the fan. You can see his
trying to
how
give me
close
his
he was to the
glasses.
tower. He was holding glasses up to the tower. You guys need these because he disagreed with the call, and
That's the life of an official, but that was funny. That was a funny one.
that was pretty funny.
I don't even remember that one happening. I remember people flipping me off. I don't remember that one.
Yeah, but isn't that
Did
what
you
you
throw-
signed up for?
Did you throw a brick through anybody's windshield over it?
No.
Oh my goodness, we really went there? Are we really going
I
there
think
right
I'm
now?
teasing.
I think it's horrible that happened, but I think it's funny that people flip me off and show me glasses. I always find it amusing.
Yeah, but that's what you sign up for.
Right.
Like, you know what you're getting into when you put on the black shirt now. So
I don't know. I wasn't expecting some of the. Never mind. I did it for
So
a day.
I have a way to fix the NASCAR All-Star race.
Okay.
Since I know
let's
you're
hear
about
it.
to close this segment. So, what does everybody want from NASCAR?
Action.
We just talked about it last week. More dirt races. The All-Star race is non-points. Make it a dirt race at the Charlotte dirt track.
You know, that could be a possibility, and I think even if you don't go to the Charlotte dirt track, we've heard in the past that with the Cup Series still searching for a title sponsor, and I emphasize the still portion because it's August by now. They're still searching for a title sponsor. They have said that sponsor could dictate where the All-Star race goes in the upcoming years because it's meant to be a sponsor's race all of a sudden.
Right, like say it becomes Coca-Cola, then it'll be at Atlanta.
Right.
You know, or Home Depot would be at Atlanta.
Yeah.
I think Home Depot might become the new
Or
series
if,
sponsor.
or if the airport.
That's
be
just
Atlanta.
me speculating, but
Yeah, so there's options. So perhaps the third aspect
wow,
of it
that would
be a
mean
great
that would mean
option.
Jimmy Johnson would need to get a new sponsor. That'll be an off-season discussion.
They usually put a clause in there for existing.
But
the rule sucks
They
anyway.
still work hard on forcing them out. Like they try to limit TV time for. It was a whole controversy back when Sprint took over.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
Or,
because
I'm sorry, Nextel.
Because wasn't McMurray had the AT&T?
But that's a good off-season.
You're just a black
discussion.
helicopter kind of guy. It's
I did not bring my tinfoil hat today, but I do want. I thought I had a good idea putting.
that's a great idea, and I love it. And
You could make a pay-per-view out of that.
yeah, but why would you?
Because NASCAR needs money.
I don't think they do.
Well, they think they do.
I
mean-
don't think they do because everything's sponsored. They have like the official underwear of NASCAR and
Don't get me
the
started
official
on that white
tampon
flag
company
sponsor.
of NASCAR and
Every
the
day.
official hemorrhoid cream of NASCAR. Like everything's sponsored by NASCAR.
Okay, I think there's no better transition than to talk about Bernie Ecclestone, except we're going to do it on the other side of the break. When we come back on the other side,
I
an
like
odd
Bernie
story
Ecclestone.
in
Are you calling him a hemorrhoid?
An odd story in the national and worldwide news headlines about Bernie Ecclestone and his mother-in-law, which is actually pretty frightening. We're also going to talk about, of course, what went on at Wall Stadium Speedway this past week and any other headlines that we can come up with between then and now.
I did not get flipped off this week.
You're listening to the
High
RPM
five.
podcast.
Knock knock.
I'm going to leave him hanging. Stay with us.
Knock knock.
Hey everyone, this is Eric Brennan from the RPM Podcast. Want to get in touch with us? Send us an email at racingpodcastnj@gmail.com. And yes, hate mail for Josh is encouraged. Want to take this moment to welcome a new sponsor to the show.
See it right there?
Yeah, through the magic of television.
Where?
It's right here.
SR Fabrications from our buddy Stephen Reed Fabrications. So,
Yeah,
contributed to the show.
a big thank you to him. I mean,
There's nothing there.
No, it will be. Just patience.
Stop trying to touch my pee-pee.
Oh my God! Will you stop?
anyway, I want to say, he stepped up big. He actually doubled
Yeah.
what we were getting from our other sponsor, O'Shea's Auto Repair. I mean, that's a
Beyond
big
generous.
step. Yeah.
It just shows the success of this show, and we want to thank all of our partners involved, including Tim O'Shea of O'Shea's Auto Repair, who we almost had on the show today, but
Yeah,
unfortunately some
he had
scheduling.
some computer thing stuff. I don't know.
And I also want to take full responsibility for us not having Vinny Troya tonight because we were going to talk to him on Tuesday, and then I was going to go to the eye doctor. And
Vinny was actually going to talk to us?
He was, because they had such a great run last Saturday, which we'll talk more about in just a little bit. But once I had to postpone our production till Wednesday, that happens to be the late night that he's stuck at work, and thus it is my fault we have no Vinny. So I'm sorry.
Didn't you have like the dentist last night or something that screwed us up?
I was going to go to the eye doctor, and then I tweaked my back at work, and I feel like the hunchback.
So
of
you
Notre
didn't
Dame.
even go anywhere?
So, no, I went to the ER to get my back checked.
You don't go to the ER to get your back checked.
Well, I was hoping because my friend could pull some strings.
You're that guy that goes to the emergency room.
Not for a hangnail.
You go for everything now.
No.
You've gone for like
I'm
headaches. and
choking
stuff.
on a hot dog.
I have really good insurance. If anybody out there needs health
Yeah, but
coverage, I will marry
there's
you.
people
and
that
you
go to
have really good
emergency
health
room
coverage.
for
That was
emergencies.
exclusive. What?
There's people that go to emergency room for emergencies. You're that guy that ties up doctors and nurses when there's somebody that's in the next bed that's stabbed.
There was a guy across from me who was talking about how he broke 4 ribs in the shower because his kid left body wash on the floor, yet he was walking around like he just ran a marathon. It was very weird. Really
So
old
you're
guy.
among your own people.
Yeah,
Yep.
they're my kind of people. And then there was a woman there out of
And he
Black
said,
Hill.
"Hey, can I get you a cup of coffee?"
Freaking Staten Island people, man.
And then there was a peacock outside of there. There was a peacock standing outside the hospital.
He just wanted to say that.
No, I'm not making this up.
The
my
P
dad,
or the other half?
I hate you. I really do.
Hold the
You know
P.
I'm going to get a hold of the same people that took Bernie Ecclestone's mother-in-law and tell them to take
I'll
you.
take a peacock. Hold the P.
I hope you Oh, wow.
Make fun of me when I'm not around again, mother. Shut your mouth.
Oh yeah, that was for the age joke when he was out.
Oh
in the
yeah, there
conference
was
call.
a few age jokes.
Yeah.
What about the round ones? Are they still there? Were they offensive? I'm a big guy, too.
They're
I don't know
so
what the problem
easy.
is.
It's like it's not even like nice try.
The age
I
stuff
don't
is
even
not
like
bad.
notice that stuff.
We've got a baby face. What are you doing?
I'm getting text.
All right. Well, what I'm going to do is, because you're being a DB, is I'm going to get in touch with the same people that took Bernie Ecclestone's mother-in-law, and I'm going to ask them to take you too.
You better bring a bigger van.
The,
See, that's a fat joke.
You're gonna need-
Let me teach you.
we're going to need a bigger boat.
Gonna need a bigger
The
boat.
bizarre thing about the story is I found out about it while being in Rikers Island today and reading the New York Post, which means they got it probably overnight that this story broke, and I knew nothing about it going into work today. From Racer.com is my source here. Bernie Ecclestone's mother-in-law has been kidnapped in Sao Paulo and is being held for almost $37 million in ransom, according to reports in the Brazilian public Veja. The report claims
What?
that Veja is the name of the...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you meant to say Villa, and
No,
you and your
it's
Staten Island.
Veja, and
Okay.
I know that in Spanish-speaking countries the J is pronounced an H.
Okay. Oh, yeah, because
The
you
more
watched
you
Indiana
know.
Jones, right?
So, no, because I took Spanish in high school. The report claims that Aprecia Shunk, 67, was taken in the Interlagos neighborhood on Friday, and that her captures are demanding 120 million reals, or $36.7 million for her return, a sum that is claimed to be the highest in Brazilian history. Formula One chief executive Ecclestone's estimated worth is about $3.1 billion. Shunk is the mother of Ecclestone's third wife, Fabiana Flossi, whom he met at the Brazilian Grand Prix in 2009. The pair then married in 2013. This incident is not the first time that Ecclestone's family has faced a kidnapping threat. In 2011, a UK dental technician named Martin Peckham demanded the equivalent of $260,000 to thwart what he claimed was a kidnapping plot targeting Ecclestone's daughter Tamara. Peckham was caught and jailed for 5 years. So, albeit this is a pretty serious situation considering the fact that her whereabouts are still not known. However, isn't this what most married men would call a favor?
You think Bernie Ecclestone's like the guy from Taken? It's like, I will find you, and I will thank you.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I mean, this is something that usually...
Out of any racing personality, do you think Bernie Ecclestone would give two craps about this? He'd be like, keep the wanker.
And then it's...
I found it funny that because I was thinking, well, how old is Bernie? He's got to be like 80 something.
Yeah, and his
85?
mother-in-law's 20 years younger than him.
Yeah, that I was like, I can't believe he has any relatives older than him.
If you're a billionaire, you'd be in that situation too.
Yeah. Sorry, Lisa.
Speaking of random things that only happen to
Josh should
certain
be on his
people,
8th wife if he's a billionaire.
he just wouldn't get married at all.
He'd be like, boobs.
Speaking of random things...
Am I wrong? Am I
No,
wrong?
nothing at his expense. Where would he be?
Me?
Yes, you.
I don't think I'd still be alive.
I don't know if I can say it on the show.
Leave it there. My
You're always trying to touch my job,
Magic
so-
wand.
goodness. Speaking of random things that only happen to certain people, we want to send our best wishes out to our buddy Kyle McGowan.
Holy
who is
crap,
the
that was
son
crazy.
Of Wall Stadium Speedway flagger Greg McGowan. Actually, he's been working down as a NASCAR official.
He just
and
texted
flagman.
me.
Did he? His ears must be ringing. He's working down south with NASCAR as an official and flagman, particularly for the Summer Shootout Series on the quarter-mile track at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And apparently he was closing a metal fence gate when the fence was struck by lightning, thus catching Kyle. So fortunately, he has all his wits about him, and he's resting comfortably in a North Carolina hospital and is going to be
I think
okay.
he got released, actually. And he just texted me right now. That's
What,
kind of
wasn't
weird.
there a picture of him in the bed?
Yeah.
You want to tell that one real quick?
It's from Matthew Dillon.
Matt Dillner. There's like a little kid in the bed with him. And Matt Tillner says it's a boy, like Kyle just had a baby. Racing people are jerks, and it's hilarious.
We're able to joke about it because Kyle's okay.
He's
but
fine, so we're going to
nevertheless,
make fun of him now.
A very, very scary situation for him. And, again, glad he's doing okay. He'll be around the track for Turkey Derby, so...
It's really... Like, the weird thing about racing is it's a very unsafe thing to do, even being an official. And when you kind of get away with something, we all kind of joke about it because I think that's our coping mechanism.
Right.
So, I mean, we might sound a little, like, insensitive right now, but it's kind of just how we cope with it. We're all very happy Kyle's okay, and, it was very scary last night, but...
Well, it's busting balls.
But everyone's just making fun of him right now. It's hilarious. It's scary that it happened, but it shows how much everybody cares. That's kind of what we do.
Racing community is awesome people. And, again, good news is Kyle's okay, because when that news came down, it was rather frightening. But it was good to see him, the pictures of him floating around and him answering people. And like you said, just getting back to you. We were going to try to get him on for an interview, but understandably, Kyle's probably resting up and trying to get back for next week's Summer Shootout event in Charlotte next Tuesday.
Well, he's all over the place he works with the K&N series and the modified tours, so he's all over the place.
Now, getting back to the Formula One circle, there was, in fact, an F1 race this past weekend. The results are probably what you would expect. I only got to catch the beginning portion of it, so you gentlemen may do a better job explaining it than
The
I
results
did.
actually almost weren't what you expect because Mercedes has never won at Hungary.
Yeah, but
It's one of those weird. I know it's one of those weird stats though. Like something always goes wrong, and it was just like a beginning of the year. It was kind of like a boring race actually.
Yeah.
Verstappen and Raikkonen got into it again, and there was still more contact.
I still think there should have been a penalty for that because he made his initial move to block and he came back down. He did.
I know Verstappen does that every week, and he just seems to be able to get away with it.
It wasn't the most.
You're allowed to zig. You're not allowed to zag.
And he zagged.
He zigs and he kind of zazz. So it's like right on the border of being legal.
Because he was going down.
They haven't called him on it yet, but there will come a point when they call him on it.
I think Kimi was furious about that.
Yeah, Kimmy,
well, I mean, he is who he is.
If you grew up your whole life being called Kimmy, you'd have an attitude too.
Yeah, but if you live your life like Kimmy, you would be awesome.
Except Kimmy Ling, she's awesome.
I was
wow,
sorry.
Love saving a beauty by you.
But that's my point, though. He has a female name, so of course he's ornery. There's something wrong with your medulla oblongata, Colonel Sanders.
Well, Formula One will be back in action in
I'm corny
Germany.
today. Huh?
Just tad, just a little bit.
Which German track are they at?
I don't know.
Does it say? Is it Hockenheimring or?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm a very bad F1 guy. Bad.
I'll have to look it up.
So I get up early to watch
I should
the
know
race.
this off my head.
I just can't cover them that well.
See, I have a conundrum.
What would that be?
Well, F1's in the morning, but there's also Eagles training camp in the morning.
Are you kidding?
So I might have to go to that. But it depends what time we're done with Wall.
Weren't you watching?
And what do you do there? Just watch them?
Yeah.
Yeah, but weren't you?
You're not even getting a game.
What do you do at racing practice?
I'm not a fan of
don't
practice.
watch practice.
Well, I do. So
I mean, if there's nothing on,
if
I'll
I
put
was
it on and
working,
watch.
that's
Yeah.
one thing. Or if I was,
I watch Formula One practice every week.
Yeah, but if I have nothing else on TV, then I'll throw it on. But I'm not going to go out of my way
that's
to go.
background noise.
Like you're Wait, you're going there to see it, but you're not going. It's not like there's a game that will immediately follow. It's not like you're watching batting practice before a Phillies game. You're going to watch practice for something that's not going to happen for a month.
I've gone every year for a while now.
Yeah, and you get fantastic privileges because you happen to have an amazing dad. But aside from that,
but no, this is a public thing. This isn't even my dad.
But you're also moving aside everything else that is probably.
But I can
important.
come home and then watch F1 then.
Yeah, but
I will stay off social media and I won't find out the results.
Talking about practice.
First problem is it's football, so it's going to be boring as anything anyway. Two, it's practice. There's nothing exciting. I mean,
when he makes an Allen Iverson reference, that means Josh wins. When he says,
but he didn't say we're talking about. You said we're talking about practice. He didn't say. Now we're talking about practice.
We're talking about practice, man.
He doesn't know who Allen Iverson is.
I think he was roommates with Brendan Gaughan.
Yes, he was.
He was.
They're good friends. Yeah, they played together.
Yeah.
Look at you knowing your basketball trivia and making it racing.
I'm good at what I do. Oh man, that's a drop, isn't it? That's going to be a drop.
No, I was actually getting ready to play the cricket sound effect.
That's definitely going to be a drop one day.
So we're talking about F1, right?
Yeah, but now one thing I want to put a bow on, even though we are recording a day late than normal, which means that you guys are probably listening a day later than normal, I think it's fitting that we put a pretty little bow on the truck race at Eldora. Considering the fact that our opinions varied so greatly on the event itself, I think, and Tony Stewart
I thought this
agrees,
was a much better race this
it was
year.
the best one they've ever had.
They actually had
in
a
3-year
cushion.
history.
It was more of a dirt track than ever.
Yes. Josh, were you able to stay up for the whole thing?
I watched maybe 20 laps. I had to go to bed.
No, and there's nothing wrong with that,
That
at all.
race, it did
actually,
drag on.
Right. It supports
the
Josh's argument.
The cautions were very long.
Okay.
That
I do want to mention they should get credit for prepping the track after qualifying.
I think they need to hire the Wall Stadium track crew in the future.
First of all, the Wall Stadium track crew should be an official short track traveling safety team because they are that.
Yeah, but then
good.
we'd lose them, so F that.
Yeah, that's a bad idea. But,
Sorry, guys. You're stuck with us.
But I think that race paved the way with, of course, Kyle Larson taking the win after coming back from a lap down. So the argument that you can't pass is pretty much invalid because that track was perfectly suited for Larson to charge his way back up to the field.
But it wasn't previously.
No, but then again, I never saw a driver go through the adversity that Larson did, and I didn't think he was going to be able to do it.
It was the opposite of a normal Larson race.
Yeah, that's true. And then
Normally, he's kind of like the new Truex.
He does
How's
really
he gonna,
well.
How's he going to lose this race?
He's going to lose his engine into the
You
catch
think
fence.
you think he'll be at Hendrick next year?
I don't know. I mean, the reports existed that perhaps Casey Kane was going to go over to the 51 that Boyer's driving, and that the hole would be made for Harvick to come over to the Hendrick car.
Poor Casey Kane.
But now I'm wondering if that move will be made
But has
for
he
somebody else.
done much lately?
He's the modern Jamie McMurray.
Yeah, we were talking about that last week.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's
a
NASCAR
shame.
silly season will probably be going into full effect shortly. And also, one more thing to note, NASCAR did, in fact, announce today the start times for their races, which is probably more important for TV purposes.
This is his next rant.
I'll
Eric
tell
Brennan
you.
rant.
No,
Wait,
no. It's
I can cue it up if you want.
All right, I'm going to drink my beer. Have fun.
I never heard what this sounds like. So
Oh,
might as
no,
well
I'm not.
play it.
No, I have to find it yet.
Oh,
But-
so okay.
Let
Are
him
you seriously
go.
going to rant about this?
No, well, it's not really.
I
Something
will
to rant about. It's just
I will interrupt and cow you if it gets boring.
it's something I don't like, and I don't think you guys are going to like it either. Out of the entire 36 race schedule, and if you want to include the Can-Am duels and the Budweiser, well, the Sprint Unlimited was the Budweiser Shootout, and the All-Star race,
Whatever it is this year, when whoever sponsors it.
there are literally only 2 Cup Series races that have a 1 p.m. start time. There are a couple that have a 1:30 p.m. start time. The vast majority are 3 p.m. or 3:30 p.m., which
I
is...
guess their reasoning is to get the West Coast crowd more engaged.
the title of this storyline, which
I
is from
can't think of a benefit
motorsport.com.
of this. I can only think of bad things.
Yeah.
Because most other sports start at 1. So now you're talking, especially during the chase, like you're going to let people watch an hour and a half of football, except for Josh. And then if there's a really good game going on, they're not going to switch the channel.
Well, the thing is, the summer stretch is incredibly confusing because you
Well,
have...
really, they should be starting at like noon, because people on West Coast are up by 9.
right.
Start the race at noon, and then make the race where you can't turn it off, and then you'll take a chunk out of football. Like they're giving football the first.
Exactly. They're
first
lobbing
swing
them up the... Now, here's where it gets really confusing, is the portion of the season that we're in now. And that is New Hampshire, East Coast track, Indianapolis, Central track, Pocono, East Coast track, Watkins Glen, East Coast track, and Michigan, Central track. That's 5 races in a row with a 3 p.m. start time. All 3, in fact, all 5
Plus,
of
your
those
race
tracks,
ends 2 hours later, which makes less fans want to come.
but all 5 of those tracks don't have lights. What if it's impacted by weather? They're leaving themselves no wiggle room here. I mean, and that was the benefit of having a 1 p.m. start time back in the day, was that if weather did hit or a passing shower, it wouldn't risk the end of the race. You're not doing that here. You're setting yourself up for failure, and it's not like they're doing it for another race. They're doing it for their own promotional reasons, which I don't know what that is.
Maybe the new series sponsor is based on the West Coast.
Yeah,
They got to let people get out of church.
Yeah, but even with that, 1 p.m. was fine. It was fine.
Oh, you gotta
Don't
go, you gotta go
leave
to
the girl
Sunday
that you brought to the
brunch.
dance. I mean, look, they were doing things the same way for so long, and then they went ahead and changed it. Things started unraveling a little bit.
I just think you got to look at what your competition's doing, and your competition is other sports. Baseball games start at 105, you know.
But
But here's
even-
the thing: you can treat NASCAR races, most of them, especially an abomination like last week at Indy, kind of like a football game. There's so much downtime, but the clock is still running, that you can flip. I mean, that's how people watch like 4 or 5 football games at once because there's so little time of action. It's like they run a play and then they huddle and reset, and it takes forever, so they can flip and watch other stuff. So if the race is on, you can still flip back to it. Except for you, who has to go watch practice because, ooh, he threw a ball. I'm sorry, but
Just because I'm more diverse than just watching racing all the time.
I'm not saying just watch race. I'm saying that you can watch other sports and go back to the race. I'm saying that you
I
can treat
grew
it
up
that
with
way.
parents that had no interest at all in racing, and my dad was a sports writer, so I'd be disowned if I didn't learn other sports.
I mean, I'm in the same boat with you. My family had no roots or connections to racing at all, and in fact, I think the only thing they did like really was baseball and football. So, but at the same time, I would still want to watch a motor race than go watch football practice. Now, if it was a motor race versus a football game, then I would understand the
I
argument.
mean,
But I can watch it on DVR and not have it spoiled.
well, anyway, back to the schedule point, right?
I could do all of it,
I don't have.
and then you don't have to have commercials.
I guess
An F1 race without commercials takes just over an hour to watch.
it's good to know. A cup race would take you about 20 minutes because
That's true.
75% of the
kinda-
broadcast is commercials anyway. The one thing I hate about this is in the summer months, there's no reason to start a race beyond 1 p.m. or 1:30 because
Heat.
your competition may
But
not
the
be
hottest part of the day is like 3 to
Yeah,
3 to
but
6.
your
Yeah,
competition,
you're better off starting earlier, if anything. But then you're asking people. I don't know.
The competition may
I
not
just think
be.
you're hurting your fans because, half the trouble is waiting in all that traffic to leave. Now fans are getting home. Like I used to go to Pocono, and that's only a couple hours away from me. But when I used to go to a race, I wouldn't be home till midnight on Sunday because of the traffic.
And now you're
Now,
talking 2
now
a.m.
you're talking 2 a.m.
Right. And the thing is, you mentioned the NFL as being competition. And for these races that are nestled between July 16th and August 13th, the NFL is not really going to be a competitive stance or going to be in a competitive position.
Not
at that
until you
time.
get way off into the chase.
However, those are prime summer months throughout most of the country. You're not competing with another sport. You're competing with people and their families. So if you have the race early enough that it ends around 3 or 4, there's still enough daylight for people to go do something during the day. And moving this back, your bet is made. The race is over.
I
And you're
don't
getting ready for
see
bed.
any benefit other than maybe helping out West Coast fans.
Yeah, but
I think a lot of West Coast fans, like I love Formula One where I could be done watching it at 11 o'clock and have the rest of my day.
well,
Yeah.
I went to the Cup race in Phoenix this past March, and it was amazing that the race wrapped up, and I was back at the house by 5 o'clock. I think West Coast fans would applaud the fact that they start a little bit earlier, and that they actually have the luxury of the rest of the day ahead of them once the race is over.
How did we get back on NASCAR? I'm just curious.
It was a slow news week. It really was.
There isn't.
There really was not a lot
I
going
mean,
on
you haven't
this
talked
week.
about the Target thing,
So,
but otherwise, I don't know what
That's-
else to talk about.
well, I guess we could squeeze in a few small tidbits. Dale Earnhardt Jr. did come out and say originally that he felt progress. This was last week after we aired our show originally. He said he felt progress in his concussion recovery. However, this Monday on his podcast, he said this process is going to take a lot longer than he thought. Should we be concerned about Jr.'s future in the sport?
No, because
No.
I mean, look at TJ. I mean, it took him a while too. He just got cleared to
but
have his
he-
normal life.
I don't think
I know it's a
TJ's
little-
had as many concussions as Jr. has.
As many, no, but the point is, it can take a while, and he's a big enough name. He's not going anywhere, and that's kind of what you were arguing the last week.
The only thing I would say, and the name thing to me is the reason why he would consider he would consider walking away, because he's kind of staked his claim already. However, and I was talking to Stephen Reed about this, the modified driver who's so nice enough to put his fabrication company on our podcast, and he said every concussion that you get that's in succession with one another, it seems to get worse, and it seems to take longer to heal, and it seems to be different than the last. And I think that's my concern with what Junior's going through. And it's not that I want the guy to rush back, but I don't know. Maybe this will shave off a couple years in the end of his season because, again, he didn't have a wreck that stood out to cause this. And I think the most interesting thing is they asked Jeff Gordon after he had a top 20 finish.
Well, you know how
I thought he did have a wreck. It was a minor.
They were minor. Minor to the outside.
You know how you talked about Kyle Busch never ever leaving racing?
Right.
I can see Earnhardt being the opposite and like leaving next year.
Exactly. That's how I feel because his interests extend beyond just the cockpit of the race car.
Well, he loves racing. I don't think he loves NASCAR. I think he's like Tony Stewart kind of feels that way.
Well,
Tony-
let's go back to
Tony's-
Atlanta. He was one of the standouts, saying how much fun it was to drive those cars again at Atlanta because of the lower downforce, and they were bouncing all over the place, and that actually was a pretty good race. And that gave us higher hopes for the season, which is still kind of been a letdown.
Yeah, it's
But-
teetering.
I mean, he loves racing, and if you can have fun, I'll bet you if you put him in some go-karts, like the rental carts that we go down to Millville for at New Jersey Motorsports Park, he would have a blast. Because
Dale
doesn't he
Jr.
have a
has a
track
dirt,
in his
a
backyard?
cart dirt oval in his
yeah,
backyard.
but what I'm saying is, if you put him in other stuff, right now the NASCAR thing, again, the product's an issue, and there's all sorts of problems. But if you take it to where it's not a points thing, and you're just going out to have fun, I think as a driver.
But like Tony Stewart said, he can't wait to leave NASCAR so he can start racing sprint cars again, and and
By
And
the
his
way,
ATVs and all that stuff.
Just talking about Tony, the victory lap between him and Jeff Gordon at the end of the race. When I first saw that, I thought, I really hope NASCAR didn't stage this for PR. Like that they told the 14 and the 88 to stay out on the track to do one more victory lap around Indianapolis.
I don't think they did that.
However, Stewart said in his post-race interview that he noticed that him and Jeff were running in close proximity to one another. So he had his spotter go tell Gordon's spotter, hey, when this thing's over, tell Jeff I want to do one more lap with him. And I thought that was super cool. And that shows that Stewart does appreciate everything that he's been through in his career and how monumental he was and how monumental it was to be alongside of Jeff Gordon.
Stewart's one of the, again, he's another one of those drivers. People didn't really, I love him because he's a patron saint of fat race car drivers.
Amen.
But like he's one of those drivers that'll be appreciated after he's gone.
For a very long
Like
time.
Earnhardt, people hated Earnhart. For some reason, everybody forgets that because the tragedy had happened. Earnhardt was one of the most hated drivers in all of racing.
He was getting better. And that wasn't it. He wrecked Waltrip. Was it?
Wrecked a lot of people.
No. The one where it changed, where Waltrip was disliked for a long time, and all of a sudden.
Well, Waltrip had a mouth on him. Like he was
I'm
called
not-
Jaws.
I'm not arguing that, but what I'm saying, there was one race. I want to say it was like Darlington or something, and Earnhardt got him, and bump and run, spun him out, and people actually changed from hating Waltrip to hating Earnhardt
Well, I think
for a period
I
of time.
think people started liking Earnhardt after that Bristol race with Terry Labonte.
There was two.
The rattle his cage.
There
thing.
was there was 95 where Labonte still won, and then there was 99 where Senior realized that he should have did it off turn 2 the last time, and that's how he ended up winning that race.
One of my favorite. I have to find out where this was. I had to try to find a clip of it somewhere.
And kind of funny, what's this? We keep talking about the same thing with Earnhardt, how he got into people and moved them out of the way.
And that was
When's the last time something like that happened in NASCAR?
Richmond.
Right. One time all year.
Yeah.
And it was like a normal thing. In
That's
the
on par.
race.
We could argue about this whenever.
Bump and run. Bring it back.
Well, it'll give it time.
You bring the bump and run back. It'll bring like the ill will between drivers, which is part of the appeal of NASCAR. Part of why people like racing is part of why people like watching professional wrestling because you have some of that drama going on.
or the. I mean, I'm not a fan of UFC or anything like that, but people like fights and things
Like you
that,
don't really
so.
have those.
World Star.
Yeah, well, you had that World Star quality fight with Townley, and but, I mean it was.
He'll be
yeah,
back, by the way.
That
He's
was
making his
that was
return.
pretty embarrassing, right? I'm just saying you need that kind of thing for racing. That's part of the appeal.
Quick look at the motorsports calendar for this upcoming weekend before we take our last break.
I just got blown off.
Told you that Formula One will be back in Germany. The IndyCar, Indy Lights, Pirelli World Challenge, all racing at Mid-Ohio. NASCAR, the Cup Series, and the Truck Series are at Pocono. The Xfinity Series is back in Iowa. We also have the NHRA out in Sonoma, California. And the Global Rallycross Series is in our nation's capital, Washington,
So there's
D.C.
the possibility of a good Xfinity race this week.
Yes, and a lot of things to talk about. In fact, Brad Keselowski is the only driver taking the flight to Iowa to try to pull double duty.
No Kyle Busch, huh?
No, he's taking the week off. In fact, I think Dakota Armstrong got moved to the Gibbs Toyota, and Drew Herring got put in Armstrong's number 28 for Carl Long's race team. So
I know we're overloading this with NASCAR news, but Keselowski's testing crash.
Frightening.
I didn't get to see video of it. Is there?
There's a
Did you
cockpit
see
video
the
of it.
picture of his steering wheel?
Yes.
I just
Shaved an
I
egg.
saw the one picture from the headline where there's the front of the car is just destroyed. It looked like he used fire extinguishers.
The car just went straight.
Yeah.
Very eerily reminiscent of his crash at Road Atlanta in 2012. where he
What
broke his
about
foot.
Jimmy Johnson's crash many years ago? First turn, was it the Glen?
Yes.
First turn.
2000.
Was
When
that
they-
the first turn, or was that after the straight?
No, it was turn 1 in 2000. Back
And
when
he
they had the
he
sand-
got out and
launched
took a bow?
over
Yeah.
over the sand trap and into the styrofoam barrier, which I remember he said all I saw was white, and he thought it was just concrete. When you first saw it, and
Well, he just came from off-road racing, so that was probably like a normal Saturday for him.
Yeah, and that was before we ever knew what Jimmy Johnson was going to accomplish.
Yeah.
Way back. I was 10 years old when that
I remember
happened.
watching his dad race.
he's such a baby.
I was a baby. So
But yeah, no, he got some air on that one.
he cleared the trap. He
Yeah,
cleared the sand
I
trap.
think he just like skimmed a couple spots and then right into the styrofoam.
And then I think a couple years later they realized that sand traps probably aren't the best idea.
Well, it's
still
also the
figuring
way
that out.
that curve, that turn has a little bit of a bank, and then it was like flat. Like it's almost like a ski jump in the
Right.
Olympics, where like it still slopes away from you. That's how you get so much distance.
It's funny how they try all these fancy solutions to fix road courses, and it turns out the proper one is just have asphalt.
Yeah, pave
Mm-hmm.
everything. So, and then I think if it's paved, you should be able to go there. No track limits or no
Oh,
censoring
how did
track
they-
limits.
Yeah.
Or you just make
Any
the
comments
curbs
on-
really obnoxious.
That too.
Now they were allowed 4 warnings on the track limits?
3.
I'm not sure.
And
I was
Form-
told 4.
Formula 1?
Yeah.
Did you see the program they had?
No, I didn't
They
get.
dug a line into the track.
Okay.
And then if you touched, there's like sensors. If you touch the sensors, then I think it was 3 warnings, and the 4th one you had a penalty.
Okay. Now the thing is it 4 combined or is it per turn?
Combined.
Okay, because they brought that up because a couple guys got warnings.
The V8 supercars tried something like this at
It's
Surfers
crap.
Paradise,
Mhm.
and they went so far as to even have lights in the windshield, so you could see the number of warnings.
It's just annoying
Yeah,
from a driver's
it's
standpoint.
annoying.
I'm going to echo something you said a while ago, Eric. It's just like the lug nut rule, which, by the way, Kevin Harvick doesn't have his crew chief this weekend because of that. It's just be careful what you wish for, because to me, once you start going up this road, you might as well put the cars on a rail.
Never, all you racers out there, never ever ask the officials to do more. You'll be sorry.
Just if it keeps going down this road, it's going to be like watching slot car racing. It's just not going to be fun.
I mean, if you don't want them going beyond that, I understand the asphalt thing, and I think it makes a lot of sense. But it's almost like if you just put grass or gravel there, they're not going to go there because that's
no,
its
but
own
you
penalty.
could put a grass strip,
Yeah.
and then have asphalt after it.
My only issue with that is if you catch an edge in that strip because it will happen.
Yeah, but you put that strip somewhere you should not be.
no. What
And
I'm
that
what I'm
makes
saying
a natural barrier.
is in an
Like instead of having a line with a sensor on it, you have a grass strip there, and your house is shaking. Should we be under the table?
I think we're about to blow up.
no. I for a second I thought it was thunder. It's probably
diesel.
just my neighbor.
It's one of those manly Weartown trucks.
Yeah. Anyway, what I'm getting at is the whole idea is put grass or something there because they're not supposed to be there, and it's going to be its own penalty if you go there. It's going to be its own penalty because your car's you're going to lose time. But my fear is that somebody, just like how they had the guardrail at Bristol, and nobody's
No,
ever.
But you could have grass way out there, and if you hit it, you're gonna go for a ride into
into the wall.
not the wall, into the asphalt. That's
Yeah, but
the only reason why it's there is because there isn't a wall.
all right, but
That's why the
here,
cars are
hear
swinging
out
out
my
so much.
issue. My thing, what I'm getting at is, if somebody in an accident does go out there, not just because they overdrove the turn, but like they got hit, somebody rammed them, whatever. If they catch an edge right there and then hit the asphalt, I mean, it may be more likely for the car to go over. That's the only.
Well, that's the problem with gravel. Like I think
when it digs in,
grass you're okay.
'Cause I think
gravel's when you dig in.
'cause,
So I don't think gravel's enough. Plus
gravel
gets thrown onto the track and
it's
ruins
more problems.
everything.
'Cause Michael Andretti, I think, had a pretty nasty flip. I want to say actually at Mid Ohio.
I believe it was.
In the gravel. That was with the kart series, yeah. But that's my point is, I think it's its own penalty, and I think that's a great idea. Or just have wet painted asphalt, because that always sucks.
Well, they use special paint that's adhesive, so maybe if you use regular.
No, on a lot of the curbing, they it'll be
But on
fine
the curbing,
to dry.
they use adhesive paint.
Yeah, but I've seen, like, if you ever watch the like MotoGP or something like that, if they go near that, they're done when it's wet.
I mean, I don't know. And that's part of the problem with some of these F1 tracks too, is that they use other forms of racing. So
Yeah.
they could fix like the curbs and stuff to keep
For
Formula 1
one
cars off there, but then you'll be hurting other series.
Yeah. Well, that's almost like, well, you know how Englishtown has the turtles?
Yeah,
And for the turtles are basically
just round humps.
round humps with a stake that will destroy your car, as Vlad found out. Was it Vlad?
You remember Vlad, huh?
Yeah.
He hasn't been around in a while.
Yeah.
Well, with that, we're
We
going
used
to
to
take
call
our
him.
last
We used to
break.
call him the Impaler because he
and,
used to take everybody out on the track.
and then his cart got impaled.
Oh, boy. Well, speaking of karting, when we come back on the other side,
He
we're
is
going to talk
completely
about
disinterested.
our... No, I am. It's just...
Oh boy,
It's karting. I'm
You
sorry.
turn your clock off, so we're in trouble.
That's true.
When we come back on the other side, we're going to talk about Wall Stadium Speedway, what we got going on this week, and a whole bunch more.
Oh,
Don't go anywhere.
I have Kyle McGowan wants to come on the show.
Really?
Hey, maybe we can record it live for once. We'll see you on the next segment in about 30 seconds on the RPM podcast.
All right, this is Eric Graham from the RPM Podcast. Josh and Eric Brennan won't leave me alone until I do one of these read things. So, follow us at Facebook. Either search RPM Podcast, go to facebook.com/Racing Podcast New Jersey. Hopefully this sounds freaking organic enough for Josh because he won't leave me the hell alone about it. But here's your read. Follow us on Facebook. Do it now.
And now, back to the show.
Welcome back to the RPM Podcast. Once again, Eric Brennan, Eric Graham, Josh Matthews, Sam Ballard's got the night off. We talked about it being a little bit of a slow news week until something came down late last night, Tuesday night, of course, when one of our members of the Wall Stadium Speedway family suffered a misfortunate incident. Our friend Kyle McGowan, NASCAR official down south, works the summer shootout series down at Charlotte Motor Speedway, had an incident involving himself and a bolt of lightning, and it just didn't end that well, but it ended well enough for him to be joining us on the phone. Kyle, we are more than thrilled to be talking to you. First of all, how are you feeling, and are you still in the hospital? Did they send you home yet, and what's going on?
I am feeling very good. I am home now. I'm actually packing my bags. I'm getting ready to leave tomorrow for Iowa for the NASCAR Can-Am Pro Series East-West Combo Race.
Holy
the
crap!
KC General Stores 150. You would think of everybody would want a few weeks off, but when you're involved in racing like I am, and it's in your blood like it is for me, you say no. Get me back to the racetrack as quick as you can, Doc.
Is Iowa a place? Is Iowa a place you want to go? It's very flat. Like if there's a place where lightning will strike twice, it's somewhere flat like Iowa.
Well, they said it's funny. Iowa is in the middle of Tornado Alley, and tornadoes do tend to produce some lightning. If that helps anything.
Dude, you got struck by lightning.
Yeah.
So-
It's crazy
So-
that we're even talking to you right now.
So tell us exactly what happened with you getting struck.
So I was walking down the grandstands to go grab my dinner that was left for me at the start-finish line gate. I was walking down the grandstands to go get it. The grandstands had already been cleared. I was just driving down there real quick, and you don't really think of, the lightning is exactly at the track. You don't really ever think about that. And I was walking downstairs, and I went to go reach for the gate to open the gate, and a loud crack of thunder, and somebody who had actually saw the bolt of lightning hit the turn 4 fence. And it was kind of traveling through the fence, and I just so happened to be the inanimate object that broke the lightning. That broke.
Anyone that knows you knows that you're a very animate object.
I am how you want to view me as. And I basically broke the current of electricity when I grabbed the fence. And what I thought I slammed my hands, and I thought I was a little overzealous with opening the one lock, and I thought I just jammed my hand. And I started screaming. I mean, I didn't scream. I was, in a lot of pain. And I heard screaming on the radio, sit down, sit down, sit down. And I sat down, and before I knew it, there was 10 EMTs standing around me. I don't remember what it felt like, what it sounded like. All I know is I was struck. I backed up, sat down. There's 10 EMTs standing around me. They took me in the ambulance to the infield care center. They put all their fancy electrodes and whatnot on me, and they're doing their evaluation. And basically, your heart rhythm goes tack, 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 and mine was going tack, tack, space, tack, 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 space. There was spaces in between tacks where there shouldn't be. So they wanted me to go to the hospital, which naturally I did. I went for further evaluation. I got there. They started looking at me. They took blood, started running tests, everything. And the doctor came in and said, we're going to admit you for the night. You've definitely been struck by lightning after you're describing your symptoms and everything. We're going to admit you for the night. So they admitted me. They kept me overnight. They watched me. They took blood several times, and they ran a EKGs. They ran echograms, a sonogram on my heart. Basically, what they were looking for is to make sure there was no. They were looking for the exit wound. There was no exit wound of lightning on my body, and they were looking for any scar tissue or any damage or anything that would look basically out of the ordinary that the lightning could have done to my body.
Now, Kyle, you and your dad have both been flaggers for a long, long time, and now you're even fortunate enough to do it on the NASCAR level. We've all seen the rare occasions where a car comes up towards the flag stand. It's happened to you. It's happened to your father. And I think it's safe to say that sometimes we think that you've withdrawn from the luck bank a little too many times. Do you think this is it? Are you completely out of good luck now from this point forward?
I'm like a cat. I've got 9 lives. And my dad and I both. I mean, we've had more close calls in our racing career, and he's going to be 54 in August. And next week he's going to be 54. No, 64. I'm sorry. He's an old man.
I'm sure he's very happy you said he was going to be 54, though.
He's going to be 64, and I'm 20. He's been doing this a lot longer than I have, but he and I have had some of the worst luck. He's had Ryan Truex has flipped the legend car at him. He's had a 600 micro sprint flip over his head indoors. He's had a sportsman come barreling at him. He's had a dirt modified come at him. I've had a winged 3/4 midget come wing first in the flag stand at Mountain Speedway in Pennsylvania. I've had legend cars flip at me. Over the winter, I had another legend car flip at me. He and our one thing, I would say he and I probably age a little bit more than we're supposed to every racing season.
So, Kyle, let me give you some advice as an official. You need to get into directing. The only thing I have to worry about is people flipping me to bird.
You got it.
Well, I get that in the flag. I've done that before. I like being out. I like being out on the ground. I like being in the flag stand. That's where I was born and raised up. So that's what I love to do.
I remember, I'm a little older than you, a little bit, and I remember you as a little kid just in the stands, like you were the junior flagger. Like there's always one. You were that kid, and now you're the senior flagger. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's fun. I enjoy what I do. I'm very thankful. I got to move to North Carolina and pursue a lot of the opportunities that I've been given in my career, and I'm fortunate enough for them.
Now, you obviously sound like you're from North Carolina, but you're from Jersey. Is that correct?
Born and raised.
He's been down there too long.
What town in Jersey?
Fair Lawn, New Jersey, Bergen County.
So you certainly don't sound like a North Jersey guy right now.
He should sound like a Benny, but he doesn't.
Yeah, that's kind of amazing.
My dad and Joey Payne, who races three-quarter midgets, super modified. My dad and Joey Payne grew up together. My dad at Flagman, him racing at Pinebrook in Flemington and Riverside Park in Massachusetts. Northern Jersey I grew up next to a city that was rich in racing history, Patterson, New Jersey, Gasoline Alley.
They just had the vintage car race there at the stadium. Well, not really a race, but
Hinchliff, yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
So I'm born and raised 18 years of my life before I moved to North Carolina in the summer of 2011.
I'll bet you don't miss Jersey, though.
Can I give you the honest answer, or do you want me to fabricate an answer for you?
we're raw and honest here, Kyle. It's okay.
No, I don't miss Jersey.
Now, one thing I'm sure that you do miss, Kyle, is, of course, Wall Stadium Speedway. And I mean, I'm fortunate that the first time that I had the chance to meet you was all the way back in about 2007, I believe it was. Now, unfortunately, it happened to be very recent to when we lost John Blewett III. And I must say that even at a young age, when you were showing me around the racetrack, I could even tell the amount of passion that you had for the sport. And I would put you in the same category as the other success stories we know from Wall, like the Truex family and Evernham and Warren Alston, who went on to be a great NASCAR official. I'm curious as to how far along in your career you want this to go. You're already at the NASCAR level. You're already on the K&N and modified level. And do you see yourself coming back to Wall on a larger level? You're going to continue to make frequent trips. Where's your career going now that we know that you're healthy and okay?
I would. My goal is to be somewhere in the motorsports industry in a respect of my ultimate goal. One day when I retire, my ultimate goal is to own a racetrack, own and operate a racetrack, or just promote a racetrack. I'm fortunate enough, when I grew up at Wall Stadium, I grew up answering phone calls in the office, doing Victory Lane, selling tickets, helping Ace Lane his photo booth. I did everything around that, and I saw all the hard work it took to run a racetrack.
You're a brave man to want to run a racetrack.
Yeah.
For me, that's something I would ultimately love to do. But wherever it takes me, I'm thankful to be where I am now. My goal is to make it into the next level of NASCAR, which is the National Series, the Sprint Cup, Xfinity and Truck Series. As a race official, that's ultimately my goal. That's where I want to be next. If I can get there, I have one more year of school left. I'm finishing my sports entertainment event management degree at Johnson Wales University in Uptown Charlotte. And I'm just, could I see myself coming back to Wall Stadium? Yes, I would love to come back.
Every Turkey Derby, right?
I've come back every year since I moved to North Carolina for Turkey Derby. I kicked whoever the assistant flagman was out of the flag stand for 2 days so I can flag with my dad.
It is.
To me, that's just fun. I mean, if somebody ever said, "Hey, Kyle, you want to come run Wall Stadium?" I mean, for me, that would be a offer that I would love to think about. I would love to look at, because Wall Stadium is my home, and it's just something I love. It's a place that I never want to see go away.
Start saving up, man. I'll work for you.
I would do it. I would do it in a heartbeat. I grew up. My first full season at Wall Stadium was 2002 with my dad, and we've been there ever since. And I'm thankful to call all the people I have at Wall Stadium, my friends and my family, and it's something that I miss terribly. But I'm thankful for the racing community as a whole. I mean, something like this that happened to me yesterday, getting struck by lightning, unfortunately, it showed me the past 24 hours and still now, I mean, it showed me how many people that I have met, come across, gotten to know, whether it's here in North Carolina or in New Jersey or in New England or in Florida or wherever in this country that I've been able to meet through my travels and racing and getting to know people. That's one of the biggest things. It's my family, my girlfriend, everybody in New Jersey. They were all there for me, and that's something I'll be forever grateful for. But my racing family as well. Those I could have never told you how grateful I would be without my racing family. Was speechless. Speechless. I think I posted a little update before, and I had 320 likes on a status before.
Speaking of the racing family, did you see the picture Matthew Dillner put up of like the little boy on the bed with you, and, and you're in the hospital? He goes, "It's a boy," like you just gave birth to a boy.
Yes, Matt Dillner and I are very good friends. Matt, his wife, and their son came and visited me today. He bought me and brought me a Flash Lightning T-shirt.
Wow.
So
And
to segue into that, you can tell us. There's only like 300 people listening to this. What's your superpower?
I do not. Everybody keeps asking me that.
You don't know
I've not
yet.
developed any superpowers yet. When I do develop them, I'm not going to tell anybody because I'm just going to use them secretively.
Flagman by day, vigilante by night.
There you go.
Yeah, something like that.
Or
Like that.
you'll be like Black Flagman or something.
I'll see, like, Batman has like the bat call in the air. I'll have the checkered flag call in the air. I'll be all Flagman to the rescue.
Well, Kyle, I'll tell you what. When you do come back to Wall Stadium Speedway, I can promise you will have more than 1,000 reasons why everybody should be buying drinks for you at Woody's. So, not that you need any more, but
that's fine.
And he'll take all 1,000 of them.
Last time I drank the Woody's, it didn't end up all that great, though.
I think that's a story for another time.
That's his story to tell. When we have John Russell on, he can tell that story.
What's that?
I said when we have John Russell on the show, he can tell that story.
Yeah, John, and if this is a raw show, John Russell, I'm sure, can tell that story very raw. Or if you want to come see me in person, I'll gladly tell you that story in person.
Well, Kyle, we're glad you're doing okay. We're proud of you. We promise that your dad's holding down the fort at Wall Stadium Speedway. We can't wait to see you again. And again, if there's anything that you need, although it sounds like you're going to be heading off to Iowa pretty soon, just let us know. I'm glad you're okay, buddy.
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate everything. I'm thankful for all of you guys, thankful for my friends and my family and everybody up in New Jersey. And I'm looking forward to coming back. Hopefully one day I can come back and for a few summer shows. I've tried every year, but unfortunately with my racing schedule, I've worked 75 races last year. I'll probably get close to 90 this year. It's unfortunately a little bit hard in the summertime, but sooner or later I'll make my way up there in the summer and I'll come visit everybody and kind of shake hands and be happy to see everybody.
Well, busy is good, but again, the most important thing is that you're okay. And Kyle, thank you so much. Just a mere more than 24 hours after this happened for spending some time with us and letting everybody know you're doing fine.
Yeah, taking the time with us, that means a lot. We really appreciate it. And if nothing else, we can always look forward to Turkey Derby and hanging out with you then.
Yes, definitely. If I don't make it up for Turkey Derby, I will. We'll see you all there. And
wait, if you can make it to Iowa a day after getting struck by lightning, you better have a damn good excuse not to come up for Turkey Derby.
Yeah, I will be at you. My roommate told me before. He said you have no reason to complain now. He said by lightning and live. He said I don't want to hear this. Oh, I stubbed my toe or I hurt my hand. He goes, you have no reason to complain. You got struck by lightning and you're living.
not only living, you walked it off, Kyle. I
Yeah.
mean, you're going to Iowa. It's incredible.
We do what we do for the sport because we love it, and I'm thankful to be a part of such an amazing sport, such an amazing industry, and so many amazing people. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for my Wall Stadium family that helped raise me to be the person that I am, and that goes to my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, everybody, and learning my ways at Wall Stadium got me to where I am today. And I still have that value. Don't forget where you came from. And that's why I come back every year, and that's why I kick the assistant starter off the flag stand every year so I work with my dad. I'll tell you one more quick little anecdote. My dad came to Dover my first year that I worked for NASCAR, and he had never seen me work a race before. We've worked together. I've watched him work races. He had never seen me in a flag stand by myself. And when I turned around at Dover, which is the K&N Pro Series E season finale every year, when I turned around and I looked for him in the grandstand and I saw his big smile, to me, that's still the best moment in my racing career to date, is seeing my dad's big smile that he got to see his son be on the flag stand at Dover International Speedway, flagging for NASCAR, doing something that he loves and that I was raised to do.
You know, Kyle, if I don't recall, I'm pretty sure that the weekend after we were still racing at Wall, or we had a Sunday Series event at Wall, and I think I remember Greg telling us that same exact story, and he explained the smile just as you did. He's very proud of you, and I can assure you that. And I'm actually curious if and when he reached out to you last night and what he had to say to you.
He was just happy to hear my voice, happy to hear that I was okay. And just happy for me, just happy to know that I was okay and that I was talking and being my normal joking self. Tell you one thing, I didn't lose my sense of humor for a minute the entire time I was in the hospital. Everybody kept asking me, how are you? And I said, I'm sore, but my spirits are high. And that's kind of how I am. Everybody knows me as the kid that doesn't stop smiling. I'm always smiling. I'm always happy, and I'm always happy to be where I am and see where I am.
What did you say to your nurse?
I told her. I asked her. She was asking me questions, and I said, "Well, you know, I'm sexy, and I know it, right? You know." And she kind of shook her head, and she goes, I'm going to put that cast in you if you don't be quiet. I'll be quiet now. Yep, that sounds great.
Well, I think we'll end it on a high note there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Kyle, best of luck. Safe travels out to Iowa, and please stay in touch. And, again, if you need anything, just let us know, my friend. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys, again. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Kyle.
Take care.
Thank you, guys.
And that's
All right, bye-bye.
That's our buddy Kyle McGowan. Again, we are so thankful that he is okay and doing well.
Dude, he gets struck by lightning, and he's talking to us the next day.
Only 24 hours after the fact. It's incredible.
And he's like, my heart's going thump, thump, skip, thump. And I'm like, why do I have to go to the hospital? It's like, dude.
And now he's going to travel. He's going to go from North Carolina to Iowa to work.
Sounds
to
like a
same
hockey
exact
player.
Thing. Incredible.
Have you ever seen anybody so excited to go to Iowa?
No.
He must really love creamed corn.
He's like, I got struck by lightning, but I'm going to Iowa.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. Great guy.
And we can't thank him enough for jumping on to join with us. It was literally short notice. It was one of those things we said, hey, we have this platform. A couple people have been able to listen to us. Do you want to jump on? Just let everyone know you're doing okay. And I mean, he jumped at it. As soon as he saw us send a message out to him, he reached out to it. And it seemed like it's really to thank all the people who reached out to him. And he's right. I mean, if you go check out Kyle McGowan's Facebook page, the outpouring of support is so incredibly strong. And I want to echo everything he said, not just from the Wall Stadium family, but the whole racing family. I mean, we've echoed that a lot these last few weeks. And it's great to see it play out for something like that. And again, thank everything, goodness,
very humble,
whatever.
very great to talk to. That was a pleasure. So.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing: if I was him, I'd be going to buy a lottery ticket, and I guarantee you, with his luck, he'll have a racetrack in no time, without a doubt.
That's worth a try.
What, do you think he used up all his luck?
No, he got struck by lightning. I just can't get over that.
Well, we're going to try to digest it. We'll take one more quick break, and then when we come back, we'll wrap up what happened at Wall Stadium Speedway this past week, and we'll also talk about what's going to happen in the week upcoming. We're right back to the RPM podcast. Thank you again to Kyle McGowan for joining us.
Got a question you want answered? Email us at racingpodcastnj@gmail.com.
Welcome back
I
to-
unmuted
You know what's
everyone
funny?
but you.
I was just about to say, welcome back to the RPM podcast. And Josh has been money today with the rejoins, with the Kyle McGowan interview, with all the production work, and then he left me hanging there right at the very
That
end.
was a subconscious thing where I didn't want to hear you, so I unmuted me and Graham,
It's
and
okay.
I left you muted. I don't
I'm
know.
used to
It's weird being the unmuted one for once.
Yeah. Your time is coming, my friend. Again, we can't stress enough. Thank you to Kyle McGowan for jumping on with us.
He
Probably
got struck by freaking lightning.
26 hours after the fact that he got hit by lightning.
Struck by freaking lightning.
It's amazing. So
Yeah.
we did allude to Wall Stadium Speedway, and of course, we want to wrap things up with what happened there this past weekend. And it was a really great show. In fact, the best race of the night was probably the Green Flag Driving Experience Legend Car event, which saw about 4 or 5 cars battling for the lead towards the latter portion of the race. There were the 2 KBR cars, which were driven by our friends Vinny Troy and Nick Van Wickle. And then it was a quarter midget graduate, Louis Caritis, the point leader, who snuck up there and got by them both in the final 2 laps and went on to win his second race of the season and his Legend Car career.
Louis was just kind of lurking, and then I got the lead.
And he also,
Bye.
Robert French hitched onto him and rode him to the front, and he got the second, propelling Van Wickle back to third and Troy a fourth. In the 4-cylinder feature, Mike Carr got his second win in Alan Kemp's machine. That was the third win for that car. Of course, TJ Graves got the other one. Brian Osborne, quarter midget graduate, finished in second, and Todd Pillwood, the point leader, was third. That was a 40-lap event.
You didn't say
so
the
kind of a
Thriller.
headliner. So I try to save that for the stage moment.
Okay.
So Todd's a good guy, though.
We should
Hopefully
have
get him
Todd
on
on
one
here.
time. He
That-
would
that
enjoy
will-
it.
That will be an experience.
I'm not
Dude,
sure I
I'm
can turn
blessed.
the volume down low enough for his voice.
Todd-
He's got a
Todd-
loud voice.
Todd has a lot of energy.
We need him here in person so he can wear the Hooters tank top. Because in the pit area, that's awesome.
I've
Be a
never
sight to
seen the
see.
Hooters tank
You
top.
never seen it?
He wears like the Hooters girl shirt.
That was
Does
probably
he doesn't wear those green orange shorts, does he?
well, it's not the tight one, but it's
I am never going in the pits again.
one of the first times.
Is that why they
that
call him
I-
the Thriller? Because he's got those short
No,
shorts on.
it was probably the first time that I ever saw him outside of the racing suit, and it's one night we went to the pits afterwards when we finished up an early night of racing back in the day, and he's just running around with a beer in one hand and a Hooters tank top in the other. He's like, "Hey Eric, what's up, buddy?" And it took me a minute to realize who it was, and it was Todd.
You should know by the voice, for one, and 2, delightfully tacky.
Yeah, but the orange and white threw me off. You know, it was a little
I
weird.
didn't say that.
So anyway,
Todd's one of the personalities of the track.
in the Snap-on Tool Sportsman division, Larry Thompson was able to get the win in what was a wild event. In fact, they were flirting with a time limit.
It was.
We saw
Prove me wrong, sportsman drivers.
Well, we saw 2 veteran drivers, and Shannon Monjo and Kevin Davison, have a bizarre yet hard crash while they were racing pretty tightly in the
Wait,
middle of the pack.
which division was this?
Sportsman.
A bizarre crash in the.
They with
tapped
these
wheels.
Two, it's not common.
They tapped wheels perfectly, just the same exact way that TJ wrecked. When you have
What
have
turn
one,
was it?
when you have one wheel
Off 2.
when the wheel going
The wheels on the
forward
bus
touches the
go
wheel
round.
going the other direction.
Oh, it'll launch.
Right. Like when the front of a tire touches the back of someone else's tire, you're going for a ride and there's nothing you can do. It's
Folks
what
at
happened
home,
to
go,
TJ.
go for a bike ride with one of your friends and then try to run into the back tire.
You don't condone that. Don't do that.
It'll be fun.
Don't do that.
Um,
But Josh is giving a valid example of what
No,
I'm talking
it's-
about.
it's-
When
Bad things happen.
It's weird. It doesn't happen often. When it happens, there's nothing you could do. You're going into the wall, and it happened. It happened in 2 times in 3 weeks.
and they both hit hard. Unfortunately, they were okay. Also, Brian Doyle gets the Heartbreak of the Weekend award because he had a fantastic car, although the field appeared to catch up to him on one of the late race restarts, and he got hooked in front of the pack, causing a major pile-up. And that's what, in turn, handed the lead up to drivers like Thompson, Truex, and DeGiant Tommaso, who rounded out the podium. In the modified feature, it was a very, very, very emotional win for Jason Hearn, his second of the season, on what would have been Richie Evans' 75th birthday. And Richie Evans Jr., a close friend of Hearn, was in attendance. And I'll tell you, Jason gave, and I told him afterwards when I saw him at Woody's, I said, there's not that many people in the sport of auto racing who are willing to wear their heart on their sleeve and who are willing to go out on a limb and say some of the things that he said, and he did it. You know, even well, it almost sounded like that he was holding back even more emotion that he had inside of him, and it was so good to see, and it gives the crowd a good feeling, and I wish we could see more of that in racing. People who are willing to step out on an edge.
I think that's part of why Jason's so popular.
Yeah.
Like, so a lot of times during the modified race, someone will win, and there will always be some fans booing, and you pretty much never hear that when Jason wins.
And the cool thing was that Richie Evans Jr. went down right towards the flag stand, and they were able to salute one another from a distance, and then they went over to victory lane by the pit area and posed for pictures, and it was great. It was a moment that I won't forget. Chaz Okerson ended up finishing second, and Eric Moriello, who remains winless on the season, is still third. However, he has been consistent, which is very important. We've seen Chaz Okerson do that year after year. Andrew Krause was fourth, and Kenny Matlack, rebounding after a slow start to his season, was fifth. On the schedule this coming weekend, it's considered giveaways galore night. Twin 25s for the sportsmen. Watch it. The Downs 4 modifieds.
I'll have the water bottles ready.
Downs 4 modifieds be in action for a 40-lapper. The Elite Maintenance Limited late models and factory stocks, the O'Shea Auto Repair factory stocks, return after a week off, and the 4 cylinders are back to their normal 25-lap feature. I don't know why it took me a minute to remember they were 25 laps.
And I get to have the joy of filming for Big Jim's videos this weekend.
And you're actually doing me a huge favor.
Josh is actually
going
to be at the track. That's kind of a big
It's
deal.
been a while. I think since May 9th, right? Since that last big factory stock race.
Oh, the
entire
race.
the
incredible
entire
factory
cast of the
stock race.
podcast will be there.
Yes. But you're actually doing me a huge favor because this is one of the rare weekends where Earl Krause has the night off. So I have the opportunity, and I say that because he'll be in Pocono, Pennsylvania, working with the Sprint Cup guys.
Which is good for him. That's an excellent thing for that he's doing.
Yeah,
but it kind of opens the door for you a little bit.
Believe it or not, I say this a lot. We have a lot of fans that never been the wall. They just listen to us for our actual other racing stuff. When you watch the TV broadcast at Pocono, you'll hear someone introducing the national anthem singer. That's our own Earl Krause.
I get to work alongside of him every week. It's so cool.
Earl Krause was also on Americana.
He was with Ray Evernham.
Yep.
You're also Earl's bitch.
No.
You're more Gary.
Velocity.
You're more Gary's bitch.
Gary
loves when I say that, so I might have to say it every show.
I don't think so. I got to get my new Honda from
We're going to make another T-shirt for that if Sam ever gets me the other.
Heat race winner, and on the other side it says Gary's bitch.
I do not condone this behavior. But you
it
will hear
is what
Gary
it
and I
is.
talking about modifieds, and as always, Jeff Gravatt will be giving you all the Victory Lane stuff. And then in 2 weeks' time, one of the biggest modified races of the year, the Summer Scorcher. I swear I just saw a laser coming through your window, Josh, and maybe that's just the recording light on the GoPro. I'm getting tired. 125 laps, $5,000 to win for the Downs 4 modifieds. Tickets will only be $22, which I think is a steal for that much modified racing action. And again, for a full schedule and details, please visit wallspeedwayracing.com.
I'm looking forward to it. Factory stocks on that night? I think they are.
Indeed, they are.
Oh, that's going to be a good night.
So, and then they'll have their 50-lapper the week after on First Responders Night.
Ooh. My Hans might be back in time. I'm sorry, Graham's Hans that I'm still borrowing.
That's what we call it, borrowing.
So you might actually get in a car?
Actually, I talked to our sponsor, Tim O'Shea, and the series sponsor for the factory stocks, and depending on what he's doing with the car, he said I would be able to...
He seems to enjoy being in the stands more and texting me when
some
things are going wrong. That seems to be...
During a sportsman race, sure.
I think Tim seems to enjoy that more than actually racing now.
Well, he's also the one that posted the video of the guy offering you his glasses.
That was nice of him.
So I think I should say this. On Facebook, I just thanked Kyle for coming on after 24 hours after being struck by lightning, and John Russell said, "That's shocking." And get it? That's worse than my interrupting Cal joke.
By the way, happy birthday to John Russell.
Yeah, happy
Celebrated
birthday.
birthday on Monday. So we got to celebrate a little bit with him on Saturday night. It was a good time.
Yeah.
So hopefully we
Great
can do it
guy.
again. Although I think I have something going on this weekend. I have no idea. But I will be at Wall Stadium Speedway.
You have something going on Thursday,
Yes.
which would be tomorrow.
At Bar A. So hope by the time any of you listen to this, it may be happening.
And for those of you out of state, Bar A is a happening joint.
Yes.
To sound like an old-timey person. In Belmar.
Yes. Nancy Smith, also known as
Go
Aunt
watch
Dennis,
the Dames.
was nice enough to have a fundraiser established. And once you heard about my nephew, we decided to put my little Matthew on that. And understand there'll be some race cars there. Michelle Mormon maybe bringing her limited late model. The Rooster Mike Tillett maybe bringing his limited late model. Neil Rutt III maybe bringing a factory stock. And there's supposed to be a few other people there. And it's really a coming together to have a good time. And
Isn't there a band as well?
Sutton Thomas, a local performer, will be there. And
Okay.
Ann Denish will be on stage offering some motivational words of advice. And I may have to speak at some point, although I'm not exactly sure how I'll be able to
You
handle
love talking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you know what? It's hard.
You
when
gave a
have
really good. You gave a really good talk at the drivers' meeting.
well,
I know you got a little emotional. But
You can't think about it. You have to just do it. It's easier.
when I was younger, I was watching a Truck Series banquet where Ron Hornaday won the title,
I don't know how you can segue this into a truck
and
series banquet.
he said something where normally guys come up and they have something ready on the teleprompter and they're ready to speak, and they have a list of people they want to thank. And,
Yeah, 4 scored 7
and
years
he,
ago.
he said
I
something
wore
that
a
stuck
funny
with me.
hat.
He said that the truest words always come from the heart. So he had nothing prepared. He was just going to shoot from the hip. And I think whenever you're talking about something that involves you directly, it's best to do that because then it's authentic and it's genuine. I don't know how easy it's going to be to talk, but I'll do my best. And if I can't do it, thank you. So
No
everyone
one-
is able
no
to talk
one-
about it,
no
support
one
it. Josh
talks-
for bringing it up.
No one talks as much as you, and you'll be fine.
Listen
I
back
don't
to
know
the
if
show.
that's a compliment
If
or not.
anything, we'll need. You ever see like the night at the Apollo, and the guy comes out with a big cane? We'll have to drag you off.
the crook, I believe it was. Anyway,
So messed up.
it is.
It is.
But it's all in good fun.
It
But
is.
listen, do you know how they were tracking like how many minutes of racing footage versus commercials
Yes.
since they switched carriers? Do that for the podcast. And if you listen back, I guarantee you talk the most.
I'm driving the.
He's
the
the
train.
I know.
Yeah,
Well,
he's the
it's
host.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like you're talking about
And I
talking.
get angry.
But it's your
Very
job. It's
angry.
his job to talk.
Like about kissing the bricks for the Xfinity
I'll give you a
guys.
Snickers.
And the grandfather clock for the truck
Oh,
series
and
race.
speaking
And
of
I
the thing-
just
And the start
insert.
times for the
I
Cup
insert
Series
myself.
races.
I just insert myself into
And that
this.
Credit One bank
You're gonna use that,
sponsorship for
aren't
the
you?
White Flag
Yes.
Lab.
Oh, and if we had all our wonderful licensing for
And the waiver
audio
rule
and
in
music,
IndyCar.
I'm just going to turn him down for a second. I actually wanted to intro to that interview
twice.
with the electric slide.
I want to dance now.
Boogie woogie
With my
woogie
back
woogie.
hurts. I have no right to complain though because I didn't get struck by lightning.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
So
The dude just got out of the hospital to get struck. My back hurts.
My back is killing me.
Now my front hurts.
I'm going to get you one of those rings that has the 2 prongs for an outlet.
The outlet tester.
That was hilarious.
This one works.
Kyle does not need that. He's got one built into him right now.
Yeah.
So
That's why he said there's no exit wound. That means that thing is still in him somehow.
he's got lightning.
Where
bottled
does
up.
lightning come out of you? I wish I thought of that when he was. How thoroughly do
I
they
was-
check you?
I was-
do they have to check every inch of them? Like,
I was thinking about that,
What a
but I
big-
didn't want to say it or
I should
interrupt it.
text them.
So anyway, before I know we're coming to a close, and we're having a lot of fun right
got
now.
struck by lightning.
What have we learned today, guys?
You can get struck by lightning, and it makes you really want to go to Iowa.
That's how you know it did a number on him.
Yeah, he's all excited about going to
looking-
Iowa.
He said it
forward to
didn't
going
affect
to
him, but
Iowa.
it did.
So nothing against our Iowa listeners. I think for me is the fact that I've been rather cranky and grumpy lately, and I like to complain
Especially
about
last week.
things. However, I really think that the Brickyard 400 does not need all the polish that it has, and I would like to see that removed from it, and it could just go back to being a prestigious event because it's at a prestigious venue.
I learned that the kidnappers are going to need a bigger boat to capture Graham.
Wow.
That's why he did this. I learned that Josh is a douchebag.
And we also learned that Kyle McGowan is incredible for joining us. We want to thank all of our
Wait,
listeners.
I'm not done.
I thought we
I
were
missed-
done.
No, I got more.
Sam, we miss you.
Yeah,
Hopefully, he'll be back next week.
yeah.
We had nobody. We had nobody just throw out those insults.
I had an intro piece including Sam, but he didn't want to show up for it.
He'll be back next week.
I also learned that when Brendan is done searching for Graham's magic wand, Graham would like to go to watch practice instead of a football practice instead of
an
an F1
adult
race.
after that first segment.
I really wish I would have continued.
Danger
and
Square.
I should have just ended the
You're
show.
all,
2
you act
minutes
all
ago.
innocent when we're on the show, and you're a bad person.
What did I do?
Oh, he's a
Ow.
sweet boy.
Back.
He's a sweet boy,
You try
right?
to touch me inappropriately when
No,
we're
I
off air.
don't.
Yes, you do. You can't even say it with a straight face. Look at the camera and say you never do that. No, see? You can't even make eye contact with the camera.
That's our new profile
You're a
picture.
dirty boy.
He's a sweet boy, but he's a dirty boy. What do you want?
In the sports world, that's motivational. I'm trying to
Touching
help you.
touching someone's dick is motivational. How is that motivational?
I gotta bleep that out now.
No, you don't. You have to
Uh-oh.
bleep that out.
No, we don't have to bleep
That's not
that
one
out.
of the words.
I was just about to thank our sponsors. I can't do that now.
Yes, you can.
This is
This is entertaining. I guarantee you, Stephen Reed is falling over, like, clutching his
Yes, our
chest,
one
laughing.
one
right.
listener.
I said
Stephen
one
Reed.
of them.
I have tears in my eyes.
Somebody's laughing. I know we were laughing.
I need a Motrin.
Maybe if I say it publicly, you'll stop doing it. So stop touching my dick in between segments.
Can we curb the language, please?
It's not a dirty
family
word.
show.
Penis.
It's still
No, I don't know. Give me a cute euphemism. Give me like a synonym.
make it cute.
Stop touching Mr. Dinky between segments. Is that better?
Fair enough. And that's not what happened.
Now will you stop? Look into the camera and say, "I will never try to touch your Mr. Dinky again."
What is this, a confession?
Yes.
This is terrible.
You're Catholic.
Aren't you
I'm not on board with
Catholic? You're
this.
supposed to.
There's variations to that.
Let's put a wall between you, and you
I'm
can
not
talk to a
trying
screen.
This is. I hate you. Ow! Oh my God, my back.
That's karma right there.
I think somebody's got a voodoo doll on me. Anyway,
All right.
why couldn't I just end the show 2 minutes sooner? I don't get it.
What?
All right. Well, I think that's all
your
we have
definition
for
of me?
this week. Anyhow,
Oh, I need the doctor.
if we forgot anything, we'll post about it on Facebook or
No, we
something.
won't. We're done. You're completely done.
No, I'm not. My God,
Ah.
your mind's still in the gutter. All right. Well,
Always.
everyone, thank you very much. If you're still listening, you have
You made it this
more,
far.
I hope
You
this
should
is
get a
out. I really
T-shirt
do.
after this.
You have more problems than us.
Where's
Thank you
our
to-
Heat Race winner T-shirts?
XM.
Yeah, Sam, where are
Sam,
they?
where's our Heat Race?
Come on.
Sam's not here.
Thank you to Tim O'Shea of O'Shea's Auto Repair for helping us out. And also thank you to Stephen Reed and Stephen Reed Fabrication for jumping on board with us. Hopefully we did you proud, especially in these last 10 minutes. And thank you again to Kyle McGowan. Rest up. We'll see you in Iowa. To all of our friends listening, we'll see you at Wall Stadium Speedway on Saturday. Thank you for listening to the RPM Podcast. On behalf of Josh Matthews, Eric Graham, I'm Eric Brennan. We hope you have a fantastic week. We'll see you next time.
Go to Wall.